Hello, Mr. Farage, my old sparring partner, is out in force today, and he's particularly aggrieved that a private conversation that Prince Charles had has gone public, has been printed, has been quoted in the Times, and he says that unless Prince Charles wishes to destroy the monarchy, he better shut up fast. I don't think that's very polite language to use about our future king, Mr. Farage. So Farage and his acolytes are berating Charles for expressing his opinion privately that the Rwanda option is appalling. I'm sure there are many people who would agree with Prince Charles. I certainly think it's appalling. And the UN, the refugee agency, think it's appalling. In fact, they have considered that they have suggested that it is illegal, even if it might at the moment escape censure under British law. Frankly, the British law needs to catch up. And one of the problems that we've got here is that Prince Charles or the Queen is not supposed to say anything political, and Prince Charles, as one of the Queen's major representatives, is not supposed to embarrass the Queen. And yet, he is certainly allowed to express his private opinion in private. If that then gets published, that's another matter. Now, later this month, Prince Charles is going to Kigali himself to represent the Commonwealth heads of government. And very good. Prince Charles is not saying that Rwanda is itself unsafe or Rwanda is unfit to accommodate these refugees. I would not be saying this. That would be a misrepresentation of the issue. What is appalling from my point of view, and I would imagine this is something that Prince Charles has considered, is that we are exporting our duty, number one. Number two, that we are not giving these people a legal option. They're not allowed to contest the paper which says that they are being deported. And it's got nothing to do with what their case is. It's got to do with how they are judged to have arrived in the UK, or whether or not they are judged to have arrived legally or illegally. Actually, there is no such thing, because when a refugee comes to our country and requests asylum, that is the legal point. How they got to this country actually is largely irrelevant under international law. There is no such thing as an illegal immigrant. It simply doesn't exist in this standard. This is an invention. This is an invention of the last few years, and it is an abhorrent invention. So all this nonsense follows the publication in an article in the Times reporting a source privy to a private conversation with Prince Charles. Now, the United Nations Refugee Agency has said that the Rwanda option breaches Britain's international legal obligations. Jake Berry, I think, an MP, was on Newsnight last night. He was the former minister for the Northern Powerhouse, and he says very, very cautiously that he doesn't comment on private conversations, but that his constituents approved of the Rwanda flights. How can he know? Has he done so much research? Has he talked to all his constituents? I'm sure that many of them would share with Prince Charles their view that this is appalling. As for the flight, a number of people who were detained and who were given these bits of paper which says they cannot appeal about this decision to be put on a flight, 31 people. A number of them have now been removed from that list of 31 people, so they're not bound for Rwanda on Tuesday. And the court case which is going to review this is not going to happen until well after that flight has gone. There may be other legal objections which will prevent that flight going. But it is interesting that people who were originally bound for Rwanda have now been quietly removed. And there remains the issue which is at the heart of this, is that our international obligations are not being followed when we export to Rwanda. our duty. And our duty is to respond positively to people who ask us for help. That is what we have signed up to do. We cannot export that. We cannot pass that duty on to other people or other nations. It's our duty. We signed that document. Now, one of the problems, if one wants to be very technical, is that there remains a high risk that the refugees who are bound for Rwanda could then find themselves returned, captured, and taken to their country of origin, and they're persecuted. This is absolutely illegal under international law. It's called refoulement. And for example, there's an Iranian policeman whose story was reported yesterday, who said that if he were to be sent to Rwanda, he fears that he would be identified, captured, and taken back to Iran, and there he would face persecution and possibly prison or death. These are real people in real situations. They have already risked so much to come to us and appeal to us for help. The idea that all these people are victims themselves of people smugglers is itself a fantasy. But equally, the idea that we should not be hosting people who are victims of people smugglers. They have been victims twice. They're victims of problems they've got at home, and then they are victims of another group of people called people smugglers, and we are going to punish those people who have been victimized twice. This doesn't make any sense at all. Punish the people smugglers by all means, and punish the regimes by all means for persecuting people, but don't punish the victims, and certainly don't punish these victims twice. There we are. I, of course, stand entirely with Prince Charles. I think this is an appalling system. But, look at where it's coming from. It's coming from a lady who has been accused of bullying. Why would it not be appalling?